Orwellian Rules of Writing at the New York Times. Never use a foreign phrase, a scientific word, or a jargon word if you can think of an everyday English equivalent. Quote by George Orwell. What's the point then in learning Chinese if you'll never be able to use it? As most Western schools, universities, publishers, and even the New York Times practice Orwellian rules of writing and omit important Chinese key terminologies in their China reports. It means that the China they are describing is kept virtually Chinese free, meaning clean, pure, and unpolluted of Chinese key terminologies. The New York Times, a US corporation dressed as global public service, is perhaps the most notorious offender to the world's diversity of languages, foreign cultures, and non-Western people. All its writers and editors, letting alone outside contributors, are forced to avoid foreign words in their submissions, especially if it's about foreign nations, their governments, and non-Western people, wherever they can, in order to keep the paper's sovereignty over the definition of thought. The New York Times must write from the position of highest authority, like the voice of an overlord and colonial master, which it cannot if the matter is discussed on foreign terms. But that means that 95% of the world's non-US population is effectively censored and or their cultures and words are omitted by default. Not all words are created equal, of course. Americans can call the Chinese whatever they want. But still, what an attitude that is. It amounts to saying that our friends the Chinese, but also the Russians, Iranians, Germans, Indians, and so on. You may express your ideas, but only by using our dictionary. You must use our vocabularies, forged in our cultures, pleasant to our eyes. Even if it's bordering on cultural and intellectual property theft, you must translate foreign ideas and concepts into convenient English words and categories that a Westerner could have said and thought up independently from you. We don't want to hold a candle, you see, to non-Western thinkers and inventors. As any philosopher, politician, historian or social scientist, letting alone linguist, will attest to you, language is power. Stripping billions of people off their cultural key terminologies so that your publication looks pure and thoroughbred isn't just a journalist's cruel joke. It is a form of cultural genocide. The New York Times may think New York as a worldly place. It is not. It is full of Americans. This dead serious form of language imperialism is of course an age-old and time-tested strategy. It is knowledge only if we know it. It means that unless and until a Westerner also said it and named it and took credit for its discovery, as far as our media channels and academics are concerned, your foreign ideas, concepts and categories remain fair game. This discrimination against foreign words, I claim, is worse than racism. Anyway, here's a taste of a blended New York Times language imperialism. See this link. It is in the form of a China op-ed, already his second, by China professor Daniel A. Bell, who, in order to get published in the New York Times, prostrates himself not only to teaching Western values, but also more so to teaching China the correct English terms. I am for the inclusion of foreign cultures, not their omission in our media. Foreign names, brands and inventions must be allowed, and will be allowed someday in the future, I'm sure of it, to show and to compete in US publications. Today, however, most foreign words are still banned, and almost 7 billion people whose languages are not English are silenced.